Hello, scholars. All right, so Federalism tonight. This is 2.5. This is the last of the notes for 2A. So be ready for your test coming up in a couple of days. So the need to know basis. Your objective is to identify the types of powers. So if you look on the right-hand side, there are plenty of types of powers, but a lot of them mean the exact same thing, so don't get overwhelmed right away. All right, so federalism, we'll discuss what that is again in case you don't remember it from your 6 principles. You know, pickles, lettuce, cheese, supersize, fry. This is your fry. And a juice. All right. Enumerated, delegated, expressed, concurrent, reserved, implied, necessary and proper clause, elastic clause, ex post facto, bills of attainder, and the writ of habeas corpus. Just because who doesn't like to say habeas corpus? All right, so federalism is the share of powers between the federal and the state governments, or the state and the national governments, okay, or the central and the state governments. I know, federal, national, central, same thing, okay? Just like the words over here. Enumerated, expressed, and delegated, guys, are all the exact same things. What it basically means is that they are written in the Constitution. Enumerated means that they are numbered, and yes, they are numbered in the Constitution. Expressed and delegated means that they are, again, written in the Constitution. But these are powers that only the federal government has, okay? The federal government can coin money. They can regulate trade, okay, between the states. They are in charge of the military. They can declare war. They can admit new states to the Union. They conduct foreign affairs. They are in charge of the post offices, and they are also in charge of immigration laws. So coming up next, we have the state government, and there are certain things that only the state government has the power to do. These are called reserved powers, and if you remember anything about the Bill of Rights, Amendment number 10 deals with these powers. They don't lay them out specifically. They are not enumerated or, expressed in any one specific way, shape, or form, but it just basically says that all powers that are not specifically given to the federal government are going to be reserved for the states. So there are things like setting up schools, driver's licenses, marriage licenses, adoption licenses, barber's licenses, the license to be able to call yourself a doctor in any particular state, bar exams that allow you to say, I am some sort of attorney in North Carolina or South Carolina. There are different laws in different states to be able to do those things. Regulating alcohol laws, elections, and intrastate commerce, or that's trade within the state, as opposed to interstate commerce, or trade between states, which again is for the federal government. All right, so there are some that are right there in the middle. Those are called concurrent powers. If you concur with somebody, it means that you agree or that you share the same opinion. So concurrent powers means that they are shared. Those are things like establishing courts, having taxes. Yay, we get to pay taxes to the federal and the state governments. You also get to make laws there concurrently. Enforcing laws, eminent domain, if you don't remember that one, it's part of number 5, the 5th Amendment, where the federal government can take your private property for its use so long as they pay you for it. And of course, borrowing money, which we're really good at. All right, so there are some down at the very bottom that are implied. If I'm implying something, you might say like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? And from this point forward, I will just say in class, I'm implying with my powers. You can all chuckle under your breath, right? Because it's super funny. But if you're implying something, it means that you're not coming outright with it and you're not saying it, okay? And these are established by both the necessary and proper clause and the elastic clause. It's the same thing. They just like to call it different stuff. I like to explain this as if I'm going to go eat like a big dinner, it's like Thanksgiving, I'm probably not going to wear my skinny jeans. I'm probably not ever going to wear skinny jeans, actually, but I'm really not going to wear them to Thanksgiving dinner because it's going to take me 45 minutes to get into them, and I need some elastic if I'm eating a whole bunch of turkey and whatever else decide to cook for Thanksgiving dinner. So I'm going to need some room to be able to move and groove and fit in all this new stuff that I'm trying to eat. So it's kind of the same thing with the Constitution. So we knew way back in the 1700s that this life that we see it today is going to change. Like I know for my kiddos, and even your generation, things are going to be totally different for you guys than they were when I was growing up. You'll hear people my age say, like when I was a kid, you think that wasn't that long ago, which I know it really wasn't. But we didn't have cell phones, and yes, I do remember getting up to have to like change the rabbit ears so that I can watch a different, we had 2 different television channels, so watching the other television channel, and how technology has changed so much just in my lifetime that I can't imagine what's going to look like in yours. So this was written in for those types of situations. So your implied powers, we knew that they were not going to have to be written in the Constitution. We had no way back in the 1700s knowing that we could fly. So that didn't come around until the early 1900s. And so, yeah, we had to establish an Air Force because, like, who wouldn't want one now that you can fly? But those are things that are not written into the Constitution. When Thomas Jefferson was the president, he was really struggling because he was a strict interpretation of the Constitution kind of guy, meaning like it has to be written in here in order for me to do it. Well, the Louisiana Purchase was basically a land purchase from France, and nowhere in the Constitution does it ever say, like, if you get a sweet deal on some land, I need you to, pick that up for pocket change. And so Thomas Jefferson had a really hard time doing that, even though this elastic clause was in there, because it's just not all that clear. The Department of Homeland Security after 9/11 was established, and of course federal banks were not written to the Constitution, but as you know, we do have a Bank of the United States, and if you don't, well, we do, and we'll talk about that later on in this course too. Okay, so there are some things that the government cannot do, and these are powers denied. So we'll talk about this one a little bit more in class tomorrow. I call it the bubblegum law because, bubblegum is cool. All right, so it's no after-the-fact law enforcement. So you can't be charged with a crime if it wasn't a crime when you did it. So if they pass a new law right now that says no more blowing big bubbles out in public because that's just offensive to everybody. If they have a picture of me, even yesterday, blowing a bubble out in public, they can't come at me and say you've committed a crime, right? Because it wasn't a crime whenever I did it. Now, from this point forward, since it is a law now, I can no longer blow bubbles as big as I want to outside on the sidewalk. Depressing. All right, so if you don't get the Alice in Wonderland thing, it's okay. I'm not a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. She just totally freaks me out. But this is no bills of attainder. You can't be punished without a trial. So over here, the really important part is you sentence first and you verdict afterwards. So I'm going to put you in jail and I'm going to sentence you and I'm going to give you a verdict afterwards. So you can't be put in jail without some sort of trial. Okay, you can't be punished without a trial. Now again, if you're awaiting your trial, you can still be held in jail, right? But you can't be punished without your trial. That's the difference. All right, last but not least, the writ of habeas corpus. Okay, corpus, yeah, it sounds like body, it sounds like corpse, right? Corpus is your body, and of course, you have the right to have your body before the judge. When we get into criminal law and what that looks like later on in a different unit, you will see what this looks like firsthand. But basically, you have the right within 24 hours to be present before a judge. You can't just be accused of a crime and held in a jail cell for a year before you're even able to see a judge. So within 24 hours, you should have the right to be able to go in front of a judge. And if not, then you're technically, somebody's breaking the law. Okay. You also have the right to be present at your own trial. And this again comes into play when we talk about the 6th Amendment. And of course, no unlawful imprisonment.